What's the worst pain you've ever felt in your life? 3 years ago, I was on my way home from college, taking the same bus I always did. When I got off, I was with two of my best friends, Alex and Jack. We were talking as we crossed the street, but Alex was already ahead of us, standing on the other side of the road. Out of nowhere, a guy on a motorcycle came speeding toward us. He was looking at me and Jack instead of the road, trying to show off. He accelerated, and before he could react, his bike went off course. In full speed, he slammed straight into Alex. He wasn't even on the road. The impact sent him flying. The biker didn't stop. He sped away like nothing had happened. Jack screamed. I ran to Alex and turned him over. His body was trembling, his face pale, and blood was leaking from his ear. His eyes were bloodshot and he was barely conscious. Jack was shouting for help, but the street was empty. The few people passing by barely stopped to look. Then a car appeared in the distance. I ran into the street and threw myself in front of it. The driver hit the brakes just in time. Without waiting for an answer, I opened the back door and tried to lift Alex in. He was too heavy. The driver hesitated for a second, but then got out and helped me carry him. Jack climbed in after us and we sped to the nearest hospital. When we got there, I thought it was over, that he would be okay. But the doctors refused to treat him. It was an accident, they said. They told us to take him to a government hospital an hour away. The ambulance was slow. Alex was unconscious and barely breathing. I held some cotton against his wounds, but the blood kept soaking through. It was on my hands, my face, my uniform. His phone was broken and we had no way to call his family. Jack and I just sat there staring at him, praying he would hold on. When we arrived, no one rushed to help us. No one seemed to care. We ran around the hallway screaming for a doctor. A nurse finally showed up and told us to take him to emergency. No one helped us. We were two college boys, pushing his stretcher, holding the cotton, trying to find an elevator to take him to the second floor for scans. Hours passed before a real doctor came. Jack's father had to call a relative who worked at the hospital. Only then did someone finally examine Alex. We stood there, exhausted, still covered in his blood, still holding on to hope. At 9 p.m. the doctor walked out. His face said everything before his words did. Alex didn't make it. I'm so sorry for your loss. His body was wrapped in a white sheet and sent home. We followed in silence. When we arrived, his mother was standing outside. The moment she saw the ambulance, she collapsed. Alex was her only son. His sister, Emily, was mentally challenged, and now she had lost the one person who had promised to take care of them both. He had just gotten a job, just made her proud. Now he was gone. The next day, Emily called me and asked me to come to his house, but I couldn't. I couldn't walk through that door and face his mother. I stopped at a distance, watching people go in and out, hearing the cries from inside. I sat on a rock holding back my tears. For the first time in my life, I had held a dying person in my arms. I had seen blood that wasn't just blood, but someone's life slipping away, and I had handed over a mother's only son, lifeless in a white sheet.